Hi everyone. I just wanted to do a really quick tutorial on ProCam 8, and they do have this webpage online about ProCam app tutorials, so it's pretty easy to find. And then just so you can see what some of the buttons mean, these little things that you can click on. So this one's about understanding exposure. So that's where, as we talked about in Unit 2, shutter speed is the length of time the shutters are open. ISO is the sensitivity to light. And aperture is how big the window is in the behind the camera lens. So if you want to adjust focus, you can tap that AF. AF is right here on the app. And then you could use the slider and decide where you want your focus to be. You can also use at either end, there's an arrow. You can just tap the arrow going either direction so that you can, kind of slow down and click to make smaller adjustments. Let's see. Yeah, so that's about it for that. I think if you double tap the button is what I've found, you'll get an AF-L, which means that now the focus is locked where you want it to be. And the auto white balance, this little guy right here, is going to adjust the white balance for what it thinks, the white balance should be. So that's, a white as a true white. How warm you want it to be, or how cool you want it to be, that's white balance. And that's talking about the whites in the image. So if we go down a little bit, it says if you want to reset it, you just double click on that same button. Here, this is a cool one too. It's adjusting focus. So that would be AF, autofocus. Here it shows autofocus. Here it shows the autofocus has been locked. So if you want to change the thing that your viewer is going to focus on, maybe you want it to be the person, like in this image. Maybe you want it to be the lighthouse. Maybe you want it to be on something else. So you just click on it and then press the AE button to select exposure compensation. That just means that it's going to adjust the lighting in the scene to help you out with that point of focus or point of interest. So it just tells you a little bit more about that and how to use it along with the previous suggestion. And then here we have exposure, focus, and white balance. Okay, so one of the things that might happen to you while you're using this app is that you're taking a picture and you get these zebra stripes. All that means is those areas of the picture have been blown out, which means you've lost detail. So it's too bright. And you can use the app to adjust that. So you can long press auto exposure, auto focus, auto white balance to lock those. So that's pretty simple. I just wanted to explain why you would get the zebra stripes. The next tip down here is about capturing in RAW. So if you're just capturing the image in, like JPEG format, you're going to get a compressed image, which means there's some loss of detail. However, if you use RAW, then you can capture some of, like, say this part of the image is perfectly exposed, but your sky is blown out, and that's what it's showing here. So you could bring back some of that detail in the highlights. You know, it also works to bring back detail in the shadows. And so it's kind of like subtly editing parts of the image. So, you know, like if you get an image that's really great, but parts of it aren't good, you know, having a raw image is, you know, just amazing. And so it shows you, let's see, what does it mean? What does AEB mean? Auto. Trying to remember what all these abbreviations mean here. So that's auto exposure balance, I guess. So then if you click that, and that would be at the top of your top toolbar, then you'll be able to adjust the exposure value. And this is some fun stuff that you can do with shutter speed, creating light trails, creating motion blur. So that's really just fun stuff. Portrait mode. This kills me how portrait is spelled wrong. Shame, shame. And then, so that's in an image where you can use the lightest areas to bring in focus and the distant areas to blur. So that's really, it's capturing depth. And then you have something that you can play with. And then this wigglegram thing. That's just obviously serious fun. Shutter release options. This just shows you how to do a self timer. Like say you want to be in the image and you want to set the timer. It's that kind of thing. And perspective correction. I don't really use that on this app. I really just do it in Photoshop. So we'll be learning more about that. And then this is just, you know, say you have this beautiful video you captured and you just want to select an image of it as a still. So you would just follow the directions for that. Filters. We want to try and move toward not using filters because every photographer will notice a filter. So, you know, you might be able to impress some people who aren't photographers, but photographers are always going to notice if you used a filter. And then there's some fun little lens effects here. Tilt shift, it kind of makes it look like you're in a toy scene. Again, that's just for fun. But I recommend trying all these things. You know, it's fun. Why can't you have fun? Tiny Planet will give you an image that looks like this. And then this is just an additional add-on to the software. And then things like time-lapse, you know, where you can take images and then it will put them all together to make a little video. And here's an example. Okay, so that's it for ProCam 8. Feel free to use this page to dig a little deeper, and if you're looking for Android apps, I put a note about that in coursework Unit 3. All right, bye.